Tonight on Capitol Hill, a sharp exchange over the state of the economy turned into a blunt debate over truth, blame, and what American families are really feeling at the grocery store and the gas pump. If you care about where the economy is headed and how political messaging shapes your wallet, make sure you subscribe so you do not miss our ongoing coverage. Ahead of the story.
Ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So for a solid year while he ran for president, Donald Trump promised pretty much every day that he was going to lower costs on day one, if he was elected. Those were his words, not mine. So Secretary Bessent, you are one of the president's top economic advisors. Let's just start with a little truth-telling about the Trump economy 1 year in. Affordability is the top concern for Americans across the country. Donald Trump has called affordability, I want to get this right, a hoax. He's called it a scam. He's called it a con job. You're the Secretary of Treasury. You know the numbers. Is affordability a hoax, a scam, or a con job?
Senator, it may be a bit nuanced for you, but what President Trump is referring to is the media saying that the affordability crisis was generated by this administration when it was you and President Biden who destroyed the buying power of the American people. So there is an affordability crisis, and you were front and center in it.
So let me make sure that I understand. Donald Trump is not saying that affordability, what's happening to families right now, is a hoax?
He is saying that trying to lay the blame at this administration rather than the Biden-Warren economy is a hoax.
Okay, so it all happened before he got it. And everything that's happened since then, nothing is a hoax here.
21.5% cumulative inflation.
Let me just ask about what's happened in the 1 year that Donald Trump has been president. Last week, President Trump said, quote, "We have the groceries going down." Did grocery prices drop in 2025?
Numerous prices have.
Did grocery prices drop in 2025?
Numerous grocery prices have gone down.
I'm sorry, I don't know if you can't hear me. Did grocery prices drop in 2025?
Numerous grocery prices have gone down.
Some of them.
And in fact, we have seen inflation at 2.1% for the past 3 months.
Have you seen the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that is Donald Trump's own Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers, that report that grocery prices were 2.4% higher at the end of 2025 than they were at the end of 2024. Trump's own Department of Agriculture has projected that those prices would climb higher in 2026. And under Donald Trump, families are paying more and more for groceries. So if you're just going to insult people by denying the facts that are out there and tell people they're doing great when they're struggling, I think that's just another way to say you don't have a plan to bring down these prices. You're not willing to admit the failures of the Trump administration.
Senator.
I will ask you a question in just a sec here. It's not just groceries. The numbers from Trump's own economic agency show that Americans are paying more for utility bills, more for health care, more for housing construction. Families aren't fooled by these lies. Mr. Secretary, you owe it to American families to own up what's going on. And Secretary Bessent, I have one more question for you while I have you here. You ran the search for Donald Trump's Fed chair nominee. And Trump promised, quote, "Anyone that disagrees with me will never be Fed chairman." Kevin Warsh got the nod last Friday. And then over the weekend, Donald Trump joked that he would sue Mr. Warsh if he failed to lower interest rates. At least, I think it was a joke. But just in case, this should be an easy one, Mr. Secretary. Can you commit right here and now that Trump's Fed nominee, Kevin Warsh, will not be sued, will not be investigated by the Department of Justice if he doesn't cut interest rates exactly the way that Donald Trump wants?
That is up to the president. Can you commit that you will?
I'm sorry.
Can you commit that you will not
hold
hold
won't
up?
be sued if he doesn't drop interest rates?
Can you?
And he won't be criminally investigated?
The
That was
president also
supposed
made
to
a
be
joke
the
about you that I
softball.
won't repeat, Senator Warren.
That was the
Oh, actually, I
easy
will.
one.
He said he had
You
reservations.
know, if this was a
But
joke,
the-
why not just say so?
It was
can't
a joke,
commit-
and he made a joke about you too, Senator Warren.
Yes,
got
he
got a
did.
lot of laughs. Got a
Yeah.
lot of laughs.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to respond
You know,
to that.
I do
But
want to
what I
respond.
can't
I don't
tell you
think
to
the American
is
people
Mr.
are
Warsh
laughing.
is highly qualified.
They're the ones who are
and
struggling
why
with
don't you
affordability.
why don't you tell the nation what you told me, that you held up Chair Powell's
Secretary,
renomination?
We're going to move on to the next one. Senator Rounds, the floor is yours.
During the hearing, the ranking member zeroed in on a promise that has followed Donald Trump since the campaign trail, the pledge to lower costs on day one. Not eventually, not over time, but immediately. 1 year into his presidency, affordability remains the top concern for Americans, and the senator framed the moment as one that demanded honesty rather than slogans. If this kind of real-world economic accountability matters to you, hit subscribe so you stay informed beyond the headlines. Bessent's response was carefully constructed. He did not deny the existence of an affordability crisis. Instead, he reframed the argument entirely. According to him, what the president was calling a hoax was not the pain families are feeling, but the idea that this administration caused it. In his telling, the damage was already done under President Biden, and what Americans are experiencing now is the lingering effect of what he described as a war economy that eroded buying power long before Trump returned to office. That distinction is important because it reveals how economic debates are often less about data and more about timelines and responsibility. Inflation does not switch on and off with an inauguration. Prices rise over months and years, shaped by global supply chains, interest rates, energy markets, and government spending decisions made long before consumers feel the impact. Understanding that lag helps explain why politicians argue so fiercely over who owns the problem. If you want clear explanations like this without the spin, subscribe and stay with us. The senator pressed again, seeking clarity for viewers at home. Was the president denying the reality families are living in, or just rejecting the blame? Bessent doubled down, insisting that nothing about the current situation is a hoax. He pointed to a cumulative inflation figure of 21.5%, a number that tells a deeper story than any soundbite. Over several years, that level of inflation means wages struggle to keep up, savings lose value, and middle-class households feel squeezed. What viewers should take away from this exchange is not just who scored political points, but how economic narratives are built. One side argues that today's pain is inherited. The other argues that leadership means results, not explanations. Meanwhile, families are left navigating higher costs regardless of who they believe is responsible. This is why these hearings matter and why we break them down for you in plain language. Subscribe now so you do not miss our next deep dive.